Leading the processional is Dr. Thomas Duncan, Chair of the Graduate Faculty. Darren Dolezal, chosen by our graduates to carry the College of Graduate Studies flag, leads our graduates. Our faculty hooders and faculty follow our graduates. Following our graduates are the SUNY Distinguished Professors, Dr. Patricia Kane, Chair of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Dr. Lynn Cleary, Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Chris Turner, Professor of Cell and Developmental Biology, and Dr. Mantosh Dewan, Interim Dean of the College of Medicine. Our SUNY Distinguished Professors are followed by Dr. Ramesh Sachdeva, Senior Vice President for Strategic Affairs, Dr. Sergio Garcia, Vice President of Operations and University Chief of Staff, Mr. Eric Smith, Vice President for Finance and Administration, Dr. Leszek Katula, Co-Director of the MD PhD program, Mr. Thomas Taylor, Chair of the University Council, Dr. Julie White, Dean of the Student Affairs, Heather Nelson, Vice President of the Graduate Student Association, Greg Goresny, our student speaker, Dr. Michael Barrett, 2017 Doctor of Science Honorary Degree recipient, Dr. Mark Schmidt, Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, and Dr. Danielle LaRoccaria, President of SUNY Upstate Medical University. I am David Amberg, Vice President for Research, and I will be today's MC. You can now please take your seats. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Danielle LaRoccaria, President of SUNY Upstate Medical University.
Good afternoon. It's been a marvelous day thus far, and it continues to be so welcome. Good afternoon, students, parents, families, staff, and faculty. I thank you for joining us for the 2017 commencement ceremonies of the State University of New York, Upstate Medical University. So today I have had the pleasure already of presenting to two colleges, the College of Health Professions and the College of Nursing. And obviously I'm here with you for the College of Graduate Studies, and we will finish off the day with the College of Medicine. So, and also for those students who have dual degrees, either MD, MPH, or MD, PhDs, you may have had the pleasure of listening to me more than once. Okay, so I hope that's a good thing. But hearing the nuances, the versions of my remarks to you may be important, because while we gather together in representing 4 separate colleges and disciplines, you know, the obvious comparisons are to see what we have in common and what differentiates us and why we've come together as one university. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was intentional to have our students present to you their concepts of one university. So this is my second commencement. As slightly more than a year ago, I embarked on this journey as your president, and yes, I'm still smiling and enjoying the journey. During the ensuing months, much has happened, locally, regionally, statewide, nationally, and globally. You, our students, have been immersed in your journey to complete the stated goal of becoming health professionals. And today commence on the lifelong path of professionalism and leadership. In the next phase of your lives, as in the one you have just traversed, context matters, and I will explain in a moment. First, as I contemplated what to share with my message to you, I landed on what has preoccupied me for the past year, the role of universities, our university, and the training we provide to you, the leaders of today and the leaders of the future. My State of Upstate University, given on March 15th of this year, reflected on the status of academic health science centers, whether they are doomed to fall, as did the Roman Empire, or to transform and adapt to the multiple healthcare delivery system training and research needs of the 21st century. Specifically, I reflected with you on the complex task of academic health science centers to not only train physicians, nurses, other health professionals, educators, clinicians, researchers, but also to link them very directly and faithfully to the settings in which they will work. We discussed the explicit need to be servant to the mission to improve lives, whatever our discipline, and to do this united in our expertise and the needed, and that is rendered with compassion, hence fueling hope. This is the vision statement that we developed after a year of deliberation that includes expertise, compassion, and hope, of course, for the questions we have yet to answer. While my State of the University reflected on the obvious questions, right, which you know, how do we accomplish this task of training these health professionals? How do we develop health professionals who can deliver on the promise that you'll hear today? What must we do specifically as a university? And how does the world around us matter on the path that we choose? My task for today is to underscore the underpinnings of your training and development as humanistic health professionals. A few more observations before I share with you some conclusions, at least as I reflect upon them today, because they may obviously evolve if I were to give this a year from now. It is not news to most of us that we are in an era where the pace of change is dizzying and deeply affected by fluctuating economies, globalization, emerging technologies, research, and professional and educational mandates, compelling us to strategic partnerships and alliances, as noted by many, and most recently by the educators Leaf and Yami Reno in the May article of Academic Medicine, and I'd like to share some of those thoughts with you. Their analysis of the current and new academic leadership paradigms are worthy of mention. They describe the current paradigm of leadership as designer, hierarchical, heroic, military, and perhaps transformational approaches, and contrast this to a different paradigm, a paradigm of authentic, self, shared, and networked leadership. While we do not have the luxury today of discussing at length these concepts, and I must say up front that it is likely the components of all of these are necessary and appropriate some point in time or other, and I'm sure you would agree with me. But here it is simplistically. It is argued that the characteristic of the former, designer, hierarchical, military, exists perhaps in fairly stable, perhaps predictable environments, although I think some might debate me on that issue, and relatively simple or at least repetitive work with a task to deliver on specific desired outcomes. With the formal leadership titles, for example, exemplified by our leaders here of dean, chair, CEO, clear structure and processes designed to divide and coordinate responsibilities and accountabilities. And we've been very used to this paradigm, right? The latter paradigm of a more shared and networked leadership organization is likely to function best in response to big, complex, and novel problems that require solutions that can be achieved with a very different structure of distributive, shared, and collective leadership to create a culture that embraces differences of perspectives and modalities and a shared sense of ownership and collaboration.
You've heard of it. It's team-based approach, or team science. So my musings over these paradigms leads me to conclude that while not absolute in this complex healthcare environment in which you, our graduates, are entering, collaboration, cooperation, caring with a shared sense of purpose, vision, and commitment may be most applicable. You will have to test this hypothesis yourselves. As I reflected on your specific course as graduate students, I reviewed your areas of emphasis and was really amazed, right? Physiology, anatomy, cell biology, microbiology, biology, immunology. I am going to say all of them so no one feels excluded. Pharmacology, biochemistry, molecular biology, neurosciences, and your explorations into mechanisms proximal or distal to disease states. I thought I would comment on the recent March of Science, March for Science, and its attempt to inform and to inspire. This march was described in the Chronicle of Higher Education as, quote, an unprecedented gathering of scientists who study anything from cells to societies, and an opportunity for them to promote what they all have in common, a passion for observation and discovery. The Chronicle went on to say the following in regard to this observation that I thought you might enjoy. Quote, this is a big deal for a group that is typically found deeply engrossed in labs, talking excitedly amongst themselves in a peculiar language of jargon and acronyms. I'm sure the family members in the audience can appreciate this, right? This statement reflected the keen observation that it is unusual for scientists to be demonstrative in their support for science. They do the work, but then to demonstrate the importance of this is critical. So context matters. The understanding that speaking up for facts, for the scientific methodology of exploring important questions, is an important endeavor and must be preserved. It is above politics and must be guided by ethical principles. In the 21st century, yes, in the year 2017, the provocative and impassioned pleas for objectivity and the power of facts have led this university, among many others, to join in this March for Science on April 24th of 2017. And students and faculty were urged to not only represent themselves, which of course they always have the freedom to do so, but that this university stood with them in that March for Science. A march which articulated our deepest beliefs as echoed by the astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, with whom I've had many conversations. Quote, the good thing about science is that it is true whether you believe it in it or not. Just as the first repudiation of Galileo's assertion that the world was round did not change the fact that indeed it was and still is. It would appear our continued vigilance is required to not repeat the mistakes of the past in ignoring fundamental truths, but to support science that helps pave the way for a more illuminated and ethical society. Additionally, as we are in heated debates, if and how we provide universal health care coverage and access to all populations, to the best education, access to the best education, the best research, and the best care. Do we in this civil society provide those most fundamental services to all, regardless of their circumstances? While as basic scientists, this may not be the question before you, I would put forth to you that it is the responsibility of our public and private health science universities to share in the value of education and science, to be welcoming to all, and in so doing, provide trainees the opportunities to go forth and support all of our communities, our regions, our nation, and our world to thrive. So yes, the underlying theme of my treatise to you is that of conscience, and with the purpose of illustrating that you, our graduates, will be operating in a complex world, where fundamental values and ethics will require of you, whether you choose to or not, to take a stand. I urge you to use your intellect, your training, your expertise, your compassion, and your ethical stance as physicians, and I say to the broad audience, nurses, health professionals, scientists, to uphold the oath to do no harm, but further to do good. I urge you to make the tough choices and to immerse yourself in those difficult and often uncomfortable conversations in your role as individuals, as members of a community, and as health professionals. I invite you to embrace a shared and collaborative leadership paradigm that engages diverse colleagues, invites thoughtful disagreement. In fact, there's some of the best debates is when we gather and we don't agree, and then we get stimulated by that conversation that engages many of us in critical thinking and by its very nature is inclusive and of the highest caliber. I'm hopeful that your training here at Upstate Medical University has prepared you well to embrace all that challenges you, that you will encounter, and will guide your path forward. In fact, I am confident of it. Thank you all, and congratulations on your incredible accomplishments.
Thank you, Dr. LaRoccarina. Heather Nelson, Vice President of the Graduate Student Association, will announce the awards from the Graduate Student Association. Dr. Thomas Duncan, Chair of the Graduate Faculty Organization, will announce the College of Graduate Studies awards.
Dr. Danielle LaRoccarina and Dr. Mark Smith will now present the awards for the College of Graduate Studies. Dr. Julie White will assist. The award for professional and public service honors a graduate student who has significantly contributed time and effort to volunteer services and has demonstrated commitment to the continuance of community programs. Will Alessio Kojahari please come forward to receive your award? The Written Research Proposal Award is presented to a graduate student whose written research proposal displays excellence in scientific significance, clarity of purpose, logic of execution, and feasibility. Will Marissa Smith please come forward to receive your award? The Graduate Student Association Outstanding Teacher Award is selected by the College of Graduate Studies students in appreciation of the dedication and excellence in teaching. Will Dr. David Prine in the Department of Cell and Developmental Biology please come forward to accept your award? The Research Presentation Award honors graduate students who present their work at the Charles Ross Memorial Student Research Day. The recipients of this award displayed excellence in presentation style, logic and feasibility, technique, scientific significance, and clarity of purpose when presenting their work. Will Arijita Chakraborty please come forward to receive your award for Best Oral Presentation? Will Lindsay Rathbun please come forward to receive your award for Best Poster Presentation, First Prize? Will Christine Lee please come forward to receive your award for Best Poster Presentation, second prize?
The Maxwell Moselle Unsung Hero Award is intended to honor a student who strengthens the community of Upstate Medical University's College of Graduate Studies by bettering the lives of those around them and does so unselfishly without thought of recognition or reward. Will Heather Nelson please come forward to receive this award? John Bernard Henry, MD, Endowed Scholarship is presented to a student in the College of Graduate Studies for an outstanding paper that exemplifies excellence in academic and research achievements. This year, we have co-recipients for this award. Will Diana Dunn please come forward to receive your award? Will Patrick Sweeney please come forward to receive your award? No, right behind you. The SUNY Chancellor's Award for Student Excellence is presented to a student who has been demonstrated and been recognized for the integration of academic excellence, which may include leadership, campus involvement in athletics, community service, creative or performing arts, or career achievement. Will Diana Dunn please come forward to receive this award?
Greg Goresny has been selected by the students as the class of 2017 student speaker. Greg, will you please come forward?
I would like to start off thanking my fellow students for choosing me to give this speech today. So I had the opportunity to first come to Upstate Medical University between my junior and senior year of college as part of the summer undergraduate research program here. I had no idea what to expect with coming to Syracuse, this huge city, and I did believe that when I first came here. But I must have really enjoyed this experience and I had the opportunity to come back. And it was just way too hard to pass up, and I obviously am back here and receiving my PhD. Although when I got back here in 2012, I definitely thought getting my PhD would be a lot easier than it actually was. Before that point, I never had to apply myself, and most things came pretty easily. Well, I can say it was a huge shock when I figured out that getting a PhD would actually entail quite a lot of work. It was daunting. I questioned whether this was the right decision for me, or whether I should leave and find something less intimidating. Obviously, I decided to stick with it, and through putting in the effort, hard work, and through a little luck, maybe a lot of luck, it wasn't so intimidating as I thought it would be. I can honestly say that this has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I've had. Among many attributes that I've learned here, becoming independent, having the ability to think critically, and developing the ability to persevere through the more difficult times are the three that I'm most proud of. And I think that is something everyone sitting up here on this stage today can hopefully say they've learned a lot as well. There may have been easier ways to learn these life lessons, but I don't think anyone truly regrets their experiences here. The ability to persevere and then adapt was probably not something you would usually expect to learn doing graduate work. You can feel defeated and extremely frustrated at times, especially after working those long days and weekends, and when those experiments wouldn't repeat that third time, or you couldn't get a simple protocol to work that everyone in the lab seemed to get to work. Doesn't make any sense. Or getting the persistent nagging from your boss over there, asking where that data was that you said you would show them last week. It'll be ready tomorrow. Right? Yeah. It always seems that nothing is ever done when you expect, and somehow there always seems to be an infinite number of hours from today until tomorrow that you're confident you'll figure it out. Learning how to persevere, adapt to these difficulties, and staying motivated through these times is what led us here today. Eventually, I learned that the challenges and difficulties can actually be enjoyable. Having the knowledge, independence, and creativity to figure out the solution really makes an issue seem a little less significant, knowing that you have the resources to understand any problem, and knowing you have the ability and confidence to fix it. And when you are lacking one of these ingredients, my fellow colleagues have been more than willing to share a reagent or some unique insight, even if it was at the cost of a beer at Fagan's, where we could also air out our grievances about lab after a tough week. And soon enough, tomorrow became less of a dreaded repeat experiment, but an exciting day of new opportunities when you're confident that it'll finally work out. And now we're all here, having already defended our dissertations or preparing for those scheduled to happen soon. And there are no more, or at least a lot less, tomorrows for us here at Upstate. All of these years we have spent here flew by, and now we've finally reached today. Looking forward, I know that I am excited to embark on this next stage of my life after leaving the comfort of grad school, and now I'm a little less afraid of the unknowns coming next by having developed the ability to persevere and adapt to anything life throws my way. I've met so many people, learned a lot of unexpected life lessons, which has all culminated into this wonderful experience. I think I can safely say that through all the ups and downs during these past 5 years, I would gladly do this again, and I hope all my fellow graduates feel the same way that I do. And I would especially like to thank Upstate again for making this truly an unforgettable experience. Thank you.
Okay, this is where the administrators get nervous because I go off script, but it's a great pleasure for me to be able to introduce a great American, this year's honorary degree recipient, someone I feel lucky to be able to call a friend, and that is Dr. Michael Barrett. I can get a little personal here because Mike and I grew up in a tiny little town in the Columbia River Gorge of Washington State called Camas, Washington. And I got to know him through Sea Scouts, and we were on the tennis team together, stage band together. He plays a mean tenor saxophone, I can tell you. But it doesn't take but a minute in Mike's presence to be drawn to him because he's really a remarkable person. And I was that irritating kid 2 years younger than him that always wanted to hang out with him because of what an inspiring and remarkable guy Mike was. I consider him really my second mentor in a long line of really great mentors following my father. Mike was remarkable because he went off script in what kids and high school students should do. We shared an interest in astronomy. Mike went and built his own telescope. In fact, polished I think an 8-inch mirror to make this reflective microscope that was telescope that was quite powerful. You were chosen, I believe, by NOAA to go to Antarctica in high school. Do I have that correct? Yeah, and it just, it made me realize, Mike made me realize that it really is true. With some smarts and some hard work, you really can do anything you want to do. And well, I knew that I would see Mike's career go in a direction like it has. Mike did his MD at Northwestern in Chicago, and I think first residency was internal medicine because he wanted to gain a deep understanding of human physiology. He then went to Ohio to do the aerospace medicine program, and I believe soon after that entered NASA as a flight surgeon. Mike's a perfect example, and he's going to talk to this point that you can reinvent yourself, and then at age 40, do I have that right, became an actual astronaut and has been to the International Space Station, I believe, 3 times now, twice. We're hoping for a 3rd time, right? So without taking up more of his precious time to actually impart some real wisdom to you, I turn the podium over to Dr. Michael Barrett.
All these years, I thought you were hanging out with me because you could beat me at tennis. And I mean, Dave was awesome. He's really underplaying all that. Thank you very much to allow me to share this special day with you, and thank you to President Laura Arena for making this possible. This is a really big day. This is a big deal. It's an amazing milestone in your all's careers and in your professional lives, and you, the family, the parents, the spouses, the siblings, the children. Congratulations to you all. I really appreciated Greg's comments because I remember coming to NASA with 2 board certifications, an MD in undergrad in marine zoology, a master's degree in aerospace physiology, and I swear I felt like I knew nothing. And it was probably a year before I broke even and probably helped the agency more than I hurt the agency. So you're not done yet. I guess that's the point. Arriving here, you realize what a tough challenge is, and your next step will be a tough challenge as well. And so I honor that challenge that's in front of you. So get used to that, but that's a good thing. Now into the future. I'm pretty certain that there's a deep-rooted understanding in this crowd that real learning is only beginning. Big milestone, but you have a lot in front of you. A lot of you have glimpsed the uncertainties and doubts that are permeating the science world, and I join with Dr. Arena in highlighting the Global March for Science. This was a tremendous demonstration of the common principles, the identity, the purpose, the ferocity, if you will, the tenacity of the science world, whatever your politics, whatever your culture. If any of you watched this event, there were participants from Antarctica to Svalbard and everything in between. And I, of course, work for an agency that is centered around science, technology, engineering, everything we need to further our own mission of exploration. And NASA does a lot of, I would say, very highly cutting-edge research internally, but we're also the focal point of a very large, very broad extramural science community where science and new discovery is still raging quite a bit. You don't hear the successes in the news so much as you hear the failures, but it's a thriving community. And I've had the privilege of mentoring undergraduate and master's students now for many years. And I've had the absolute pleasure of seeing some of these grow up into furthering their degrees, obtaining PhDs, becoming very productive scientists, investigators, and medical practitioners. The new blood that's coming in, your blood, is what makes me sleep well at night. And it's just a wonderful thing. So from this vantage point, I want to share some things, some highlights and observations I've made with you, and some opportunities. Please look at it that way. Opportunities of things that you haven't thought of, perhaps. I'd like to introduce you to our world and to emphasize a few points that have taken me an awful long time to internalize, some of them the hard way. Now, first, a story. I spent a lot of time in the UK, and I was early in London for a meeting. It was to occur 4 hours later, and I stopped at a little pub across from University College London. Pubs are great, especially when they're close to a university. There's a pint and a laptop next to everybody, and it's just a whole different bar. And from that time, I started working alone. I was joined by a chemical engineer, a cellular biologist, a mammalian biologist, and one guy, the last guy who showed up, we asked him what he did, and he said, "I'm an archaeologist, sir, and my professional life lies in ruins." And it occurred to me that he probably says that at least once a day because he was so polished. But what this guy did is he was an archaeologist who studied technology and the development of ancient technology among civilizations and how that influenced their movement, how that influenced their language, their culture, and their migration. It was fascinating. And spending that time with these people, we all talked about what we did. I learned so much across disciplines that I never would have learned if I weren't there. None of them had ever heard of space medicine or biology. So it told me a couple things. First of all, share what you know. really cross those disciplines. You will be made better for it, they will be made better for it, and we had the best time. Second of all, we don't message our world very well. So I'm using this opportunity to give you a top-level overview of our orbit, if you will. It may seem a bit self-serving, but again, I hope you will see it as somewhat invitational, and mostly I'm talking to y'all. Biology, I've been in Texas for 25 years, okay? Biology, human physiology, and performance in space is dominated by weightlessness. Even down to the individual cellular level, there's changes. And I'm going to paint a picture of the human system, the one that I know best. Now, I apologize for the audience here because we're going to dive into the weeds a bit, but bear with me. You ride a rocket into space. It takes about 8 minutes and 45 seconds from the time you leave the pad to arrive in weightlessness. 9 minutes of shake, rattle, and roll. And if all goes well, you're established in low Earth orbit at the end of that ride with a ground speed of about 17,500 miles an hour. You circle the globe every 90 minutes at an altitude of about 250 miles or so. Immediately upon arrival into weightlessness. And it is immediate. As soon as the engine's cut off, you go from 3 Gs to 0 Gs, which means you weigh 3 times your body weight to nothing, like that, all right? It happens very abruptly. A constellation of adaptive changes starts, which is really quite magnificent. First, your body changes shape, and that happens within seconds. Your waistline decreases, your chest gets a little bigger, and you get taller. Sounds great, right? Now, you pay for that. The thoracic curve actually straightens out, and your intervertebral discs imbibe fluid, and they never get gravity challenged, so you get a little bit taller. Your cardiac chamber volumes increase because fluid shifts from the lower extremities, whether it's capacitance blood in your vascular system or the interstitial fluid in your muscles and your tissues. All of that shifts towards the chest, and within seconds of zero gravity, you feel a rush of fluid, like all of a sudden you're hanging from the monkey bars. Your cardiac output increases about 30%. And your blood pressure stays the same, and the only way that works is because your vascular compliance also increases about 30%. Who'd have thunk? Why does that happen? There's an uncoupling of the cardiorenal response. If you think about it, if you lie someone down or put them at head down tilt or water immersion, you shift that fluid to the chest, cardiac output increases, you overperfuse Mr. Kidney, and you pee it out. Okay, there's a diuresis that would happen. Well, that doesn't happen to us. That reflex is totally uncoupled. And only in our circumstance. It's very, very unique to go with that central volume shift. Your neurosensory system is immediately challenged for inputs, whether they're visual, vestibular, or tactile. When you think about it, my ability to stay upright here is based on my vision. Up is that way, down is that way. Gravity is pulling me down, so I feel the weight in my feet, and I've got my balance system. Well, up there, up and down is what you choose to make it. I can move this way. Okay, I'll call that up. Cool. My vestibular system, though, looks at that and says, yeah, this doesn't seem right, so there's a lot of sensory conflict. I don't feel anything from my feet. There's no pressure there whatsoever. So there's a big conflict between your visual and all your other inputs that tell you about position and motor function, and so you see symptoms of space motion sickness and locomotor dysfunction, if you will. Our version of seasickness, over half the people get it within sometimes minutes and a few hours. Fortunately, it goes away in a couple days. But over a period of a few days, other things happen. Your plasma volume decreases by about 15%. And your red blood cell mass decreases compensatorily by about 15%. And that happens by this really unique mechanism that we didn't even know happened until we started flying in space. Now, believe it or not, I'm trying not to devolve into a lecture on spaceflight physiology. I just want you to know that there's other changes as well in the immune system, endocrine and fluid regulation. Every system changes. So, okay, let's come back to the surface. But consider that over time, all of these things help you to arrive at a new homeostasis, new homeostatic set points for every system. It's a brand new physiology. It's amazing. And it adapts us very well to becoming three-dimensional creatures that function superbly in weightlessness. Now, I don't want to sugarcoat it. There's penalties you pay, but this adaptation that happens is really quite amazing. We basically become extraterrestrials over a period of a few weeks. Different anatomy, different physiology. A medical problem will present differently, and you have to treat it differently. And all of these processes that support this adaptation, some of them are totally expected, some of them are really surprising, some of them are totally counterintuitive. But when you remove the dominant force of gravity, you find things that are otherwise just overwhelmingly masked. by the more prominent forces that influence everything from the cellular level up. So as a result, we have to we end up informing the knowledge base of fundamental biology and physiology while we're developing our functional understanding that helps us operate in this novel environment. And by the way, we get serious circadian desynchrony, as you might guess. You're grad students, you probably understand sleeplessness pretty well. But we have to artificially regulate our sleep cycles, getting 16 sunrises and sunsets a day. So we turn on the lights, we call that day, gives you a feeling of power. Turn off the lights, it's nighttime. But we are discovering new things all the time up there, big things. A new syndrome that we've discovered that involves elevated intracranial pressure, remodeling of your neuroophthalmic system. It's been happening since we've been flying, but we just recognized it a few years ago. Been right under our noses. And what this all tells you is that there are yet amazing frontiers out there. It's not a small world, after all. And I'm really glad to say that because that song really annoys me. There are more distinct scientific niches and disciplines now than ever in history, and that's a trend that's growing. And this is by necessity, because the more we understand the natural world in greater detail, the more we need to develop these more detailed lines of inquiry. And most certainly people in this room are going to be building some of those new disciplines and defining some of those niches. So I salute you in advance for that. Now, a few words on boundaries and limits. A few years ago, I gave a talk in a community forum, again, about my favorite topic, human spaceflight, and I mentioned how we are enslaved by something we call the rocket equation. Now, this is basically that tyrannical relationship between fuel weight, the propellants we use to burn to get us into space, and the engine thrust that's even theoretically possible from a chemical rocket engine. And what it basically tells you is that we can only deliver a tiny fraction into space compared to what we launch off the pad. And so if we launch 100% off the pad, maybe 8% gets into orbit. And by the way, the Apollo capsule that came back after the moon landings represented a few tenths of 1% of the mass that left the launch pad. So that's our world. So we've been on this edge since the beginning of spaceflight. But afterwards, this elderly gentleman approached me, and he suggested that if we can only just barely claw our way off the planet and into orbit, isn't that a sign that maybe we shouldn't be doing this? Now, I talked to this gentleman for a long time. I ended up liking him quite well, mostly his steadiness, his moral convictions. He was a pretty impressive guy. But we were looking at the same circumstances that we can get there just barely, but we came to polar opposite conclusions. The fact that we can reach orbit, even if just barely, that alone pushes us, compels us outwards. And you're going to find that in the laboratory. You're going to find that in the natural world. There's all sorts of places where you can get somewhere just barely. And if you can, you'll find things that you otherwise wouldn't see. You'll have vision that you didn't have if you didn't make that step. So if you can climb to the next step, climb. Do that. You get a view of things that you otherwise just wouldn't see. The duty to observe and record. Now, you've all written now, which is great. I think Alfred Tennyson is the one who said it is much better to have written than to write. It's a slog, and it's important. Many of you know the name of Captain James Cook, one of the greatest explorers of all time. If you've nothing else to do, read the account of his travels. John C. Beaglehole is the definitive biographer of Captain James Cook, and Cook and his voyages are rightly held in the highest esteem in the spaceflight community. Far fewer of you probably know the name of William Brom Monkhouse. Anybody? Monkhouse was the ship's surgeon, first on the HMS Niger, which surveyed the coasts of Newfoundland and Labrador, and later on the HMS Endeavour, so during Cook's first voyage of exploration between 1768 and 1771. And in Beaglehole's very exhaustive biography of James Cook, it was said of Monkhouse, the ship's surgeon, that he was literate and accurate in observation, and one regrets that only a small portion of his journal has survived. And another biographer, a very meticulous, well-researched book, Trial of the Cannibal Dog by Anne Salmon, described in this way: William Brong Monkhouse, the ship's surgeon, was a disorganized fellow who drank far too much, but he was a well-educated and superlative observer. And we knew that from those who read his journals and diaries. Now, the unfortunate thing was he died of dysentery in Batavia on the way home after keeping by far the vast majority of his crew alive at a time when 50% mortality on these sea voyages was the norm. His crew was doing great, and there was nothing he could do. Medical science at the time was not available to him to prevent the outbreak that happened. But what we know is that he recorded facts and observations meticulously, way beyond his central mission of maintaining crew health. And history has repeatedly shown that in a new or a novel environment, whether you're out in the natural world or in a laboratory, there are very few forces more formidable than a naturalist with a notebook. Now, spaceflight is relatively new, and so during my 200 days, during my 200 plus days, I guess, in orbit total, I've kept a log of medical and other events, which I've actually made extremely good use of. But whether you use your newfound skills and credentials in research, industry, education, you'll also be in new environments. So observe astutely and record what you see, even if it's outside your central task, and be willing to share it. But do so with integrity and honor. That will maintain the academic trust in spite of the powerful attraction to take shortcuts or compromise methods in the face of grant applications, publishing pressures. All these did not exist to the magnitude that they do now when I was going through your type of program. And finally, on communicating what you do. There was a 1989 essay published in the Skeptical Inquirer. I was an avid reader back then. And in that essay, Carl Sagan stated that we live in a society exquisitely dependent on science and technology, in which hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. And this is more true now than then, truer than ever. This is unfair, and I would posit destabilizing and dangerous. The equitable distribution of knowledge and understanding is critical. It's vital to our civilization, to our country. It's no less important than the distribution of wealth or political power. So as in these arenas, there are haves and have-nots in knowledge. There's greater responsibilities and expectations on the academic now than ever to reach out to these communities at large and clearly communicate what we do. It's not easy. We speak a different language, and yet we have to translate that. And it may not be in your job description, but it should be considered a central effort, almost a missionary effort, so that you can take advantage of opportunities and build ones where they're needed. Promoting science literacy is sound strategy and everyone's responsibility. So as I give you what I like to think is sound advice, based on my observation over 30 years in the space medical world, please understand at the same time, I really envy and admire you guys right now. I wish I were in your shoes in some ways. I have successfully mastered my cable and satellite dish remote, but I can only covet and admire the techniques and technologies and information management skills that you guys have had to master to get where you are now. You have an incredible tool set on your side. So the very best of luck as you tackle the world and try to make it better. Go out and discover. Thanks so much.
I think you got a sense that Dr. Barrett is the world authority on space medicine. In fact, he wrote the textbook, I believe, right? Thanks, Mike. So now to move on to the grand show, and that is that the degrees from the College of Graduate Studies will now be conferred by President LaRocca. Dr. Mark Schmidt will present the recipients of the degree, Master of Science. Heather Nelson will assist.
Dr. LaRocca, as Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree Masters of Science. They have satisfied the requirements established by the faculty and have been recommended by the faculty the receipt of this degree.
Will the candidates for the Master of Science degree in the College of Graduate Studies please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the State University of New York, upon completion of all requirements, I confer upon you the degree Master of Science with all its rights, privileges, and obligations. Please come forward to be recognized.
Esther Mutaki. Lindsay Michelle Ruggiero. Lindsay will be hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Jason Horton. The title of Lindsay's thesis is Conditional Deletion of P par Y, or par gamma, excuse me, in postnatal derivatives of lateral plate mesenchyme. Matthew Stuver. Matthew is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Golam Mohi. The title of Matthew's thesis is The Targeting of PIM-1,2 Kinases in JAK2V6117F Positive Myoproliferative Neoplasms. Robert Anthony Zolo. Robert is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Ying Huang. The title of Robert's thesis is The Functional Studies of Rebel 1A in Breast Cancer Tumorigenesis. Modesty. The recipients of the Doctor of Philosophy will be presented by Dr. Mark Schmidt.
Dr. Laracarina, as Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, I have the honor to present the recipients of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. They have satisfied the requirements established by the faculty and have been recommended by the faculty for the receipt of this degree.
Will the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy degree in the College of Graduate Studies please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the State University of New York, upon completion of all requirements, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Philosophy with all its rights, privileges, and obligations. Please come forward to be recognized.
Dr. Sarah A. Arrington. Sarah is hooded by Dr. Jason Horton. The title of Sarah's dissertation is Effect of Anabolic and Anti-Resorptive Therapies on Tumor Osteolysis. Dr. Manzi Babar. Manzi is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Saeed Sheikh. The title of Manzi's dissertation is Characterization of Novel Metabolic Biomarkers and Potential Targets of Cancer Therapeutics. Dr. Olasi Akojahari. Olasi is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Gary Chan. The title of Olasi's dissertation is A Matter of Life and Death, Human Cytomegalovirus Induction of Monocyte Survival and Differentiation into Macrophages through the PI3K AKT pathway. Dr. Agnik Dasgupta. Agnik is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Jeffrey Amack. The title of Agnik's dissertation is Quantitative Analyses of Vertebrate Left-Right Organizer Morphogenesis. Dr. Chi Yen Du. Chi Yen is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Frank Middleton. The title of Chi Yen's dissertation is Epigenetic Changes as Consequences of Fetal Alcohol Exposure. Dr. Dai-An U, Maureen Da-Ng. Diane U is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Mehdi Malapur. The title of Diane U's dissertation is Post-Translational Regulation of Co-Chaperones Affects HSP90 Drug Sensitivity in Cancer. Diana Dunn. I give up. Dr. Gregory James Goresny. Gregory is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Christopher Turner. The title of Gregory's dissertation is Characterization of HIC5 in Cancer-Associated Fibroblasts, a Role in Stromal Extracellular Matrix Deposition and Remodeling. Dr. Anna Hegstead. Anna is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. David Prine. The title of Anna's dissertation is Localization and Function of EXC6, an Inverted Foramen in the Somatic Gonad of Caranobus elegans. Dr. Jonathan L. Hess. Jonathan is hooded by his brother, Dr. Matthew Hess, and his dissertation advisor, Dr. Stephen Glatt. The title of Jonathan's dissertation is Polyomic Profiles of Schizophrenia and Bipolar Disorder. Dr. Kevin Kendaris. Kevin is hooded by our faculty marshal, Dr. Thomas Duncan. The title of Kevin's dissertation is Multifunctional Effector Responses Elicited from IgM Memory Cells. Dr. Ray Yu Ku. Ray Yu is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Michael Zuber. The title of Ray Yu's dissertation is Development and Characterization of Transgenic Models for Studying Progressive Retinal Degeneration and Regeneration. Dr. Megan Gribble-Lloyd. Megan is hooded by our faculty marshal, Dr. Thomas Duncan. The title of Megan's dissertation is Targeting the Alternative Sigma Factor, RPON, a Novel Approach to Shutting Down Virulence in Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Dr. Dipmoy Nath. Dipmoy is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Golam Mohi. The title of Dipmoy's dissertation is The Role of TET2 in Myeloid Malignancies. Dr. Dakshesh Patel. Dakshesh is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Richard Veenstra. The title of Dakshesh's dissertation is Functional Alterations and Rhythmic Disturbances by Panhistone Deacetylase Inhibition in the Heart. Dr. Jay Peng. Jay is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Wenyi Feng. The title of Jay's dissertation is Role of the SMC5-6 Complex in DNA Replication and DNA Damage Repair. Dr. Megan Ann Pepinelli. Megan is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Gary Chan. The title of Megan's dissertation is The Survival of Monocytes Infected by Human Cytomegalovirus is Dependent on a Unique Signalsome Induced During Entry. Dr. Karen Mai Schneider. Karen is hooded by our faculty marshal, Dr. Thomas Duncan. The title of Karen's dissertation is Neurotropic Virus Macrophage Interactions in CNS Inflammatory Disease. Dr. Studi Sharma. Studi is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Stefan Wilkins. The title of Studi's dissertation is Dissecting the Molecular Mechanism of Vacuolar ATPase Regulation by Reversible Disassembly. Dr. Patrick R. Sweeney. Patrick is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Yunlei Yang. The title of Patrick's dissertation is Deciphering a Hippocampus to Hypothalamus Feeding Circuit via the Septal Nucleus. Dr. Kimberly Ann Wong. Kimberly is hooded by our dissertation advisor, Dr. Andrea Vixian. The title of Kimberly's dissertation is Role of BMP in Activin TGF-beta Signaling Repression in Retinal Progenitor Cell Specification and Cone Photoreceptor Genesis. Dr. Yu A. Yang. Yu A. is hooded by her dissertation advisor, Dr. Golam Mohi. The title of Yu A.'s dissertation is Role of EZH2 in Myeloproliferative Neoplasms. The recipients of the two doctoral degrees, Doctor of Medicine and Doctor of Philosophy, will be presented by Dr. Leszek Katula, co-director of the MD-PhD program.
Dr. Larac, Arena, Dr. Dewan, Dr. Schmidt, and I have the honor to present these graduates who participated in Upstate MD-PhD program, which over approximately 7 to 8 year period allows students to complete the requirements of both the College of Medicine for the Doctor of Medicine degree and the College of Graduate Studies for the Doctor of Philosophy degree. These students graduate as physician scientists who, by completing the practice of medicine in the clinic, by combining the practice of medicine in the clinic with biomedical research in the laboratory, are uniquely trained and focused to bring the power of modern science to our understanding and treatment of human disease.
Will the candidates receiving both doctoral degrees, Doctor of Medicine and Doctor of Philosophy, please rise. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the State University of New York, upon completion of all requirements, I confer upon you the degrees Doctor of Medicine and Doctor of Philosophy with all its rights, privileges, and obligations. Please come forward to receive your recognition.
Take your time, enjoy the moment. Dr. Darren Dolezal. Darren is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Francesca Pignoni. The title of Darren's dissertation is A Novel Transmembrane Protein, Lillipod, Enhances BMP Signaling and Promotes Germline Stem Cell Self-Renewal in the Drosophila Ovary. Dr. Matthew Nelson Gumbleton. Matthew is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. William Kerr. The title of Matthew's dissertation is The Role of Inositol Phospholipid Signaling Pathway in NK Cell Biology. Dr. Ryan Stephen Odell. Ryan is hooded by his dissertation advisor, Dr. Eric Olson. The title of Ryan's dissertation is Reelin Signaling Coordinates Dendritic Initiation and Cellular Positioning by Neurite Stabilization. It is now my honor to invite Dr. Mark Schmidt, Dean of the College of Graduate Studies, to lead the scientific oath and to provide his congratulatory remarks.
Thank you, Dave. Will all the graduates please rise and to take the scientific oath printed on page 35 of your program. Please repeat after me. As I embark on my career as a biomedical scientist, I willingly pledge that I will represent my profession honorably by conducting myself in my professional manner without reproach. I will pursue truth and create knowledge for greater good and report my findings with unwavering accuracy. I will seek to incorporate the body of ethics and moral principles that constitute scientific integrity into all that I do. I will never use my gifts and skills to intentionally harm any individual or group and will treat this planet and all of its life forms with honor and respect. I will never use my gifts and skills to intentionally harm any individual or group and treat this planet and all of its life forms with honor and respect. I will fulfill my responsibility to mentor and instruct the next generation and to contribute to the public understanding of science. I will acknowledge and honor the scientific contributions of all those who have come before me with the humble understanding that all that I see by standing on the shoulders of those other scientists. I will acknowledge and honor the scientific contributions of those who have come before me with the humble understanding that all that I see by standing on the shoulders of other scientists. And I pledge to become a worthy role model deserving of respect by those who follow me. By pronouncing this oath, I declare my commitment to these professional standards and goals in my scientific career. By pronouncing this oath, I declare my Ladies and gentlemen, may I present the class of 2017. So, like your families, loved ones, and faculty, I am very proud of all of you today. You are one class I will never forget. You also marked the 63rd year of Upstate's College of Graduate Studies. In addition, you marked the largest class from the college since its beginning. However, this event today is about you, the great things you have accomplished in the last several years, and your future. As you take these steps towards the future, I would like to talk about three things: change, the unknown, and failure, which I think all are linked. I'm sure that you have spent time thinking about your future for the next year and beyond, trying to plan it out and make the changes that are inevitable so that they run smooth. As scientists, you have learned that all things often don't go as planned. What I want to tell you is that some of the most important moments of life, and those that you cannot predict or plan, will be and involve change. We don't like change, we fear it, we try to plan around it, but we can't stop it from coming, and we often don't see it coming. We either adapt to change or we get left behind. Change often hurts, and anyone who tells you it doesn't is lying. But more often it is fantastic. Sometimes change is everything. But more often, it could be a groundbreaking change in an important theory of your research. It may be as simple as finding the love of your life, or finding out that you're going to be a parent. It could be moving to a new career, or a new job, or a new city. And it's now your time for change. The future will hold many surprises, and I hope as much change for you as it has for me. Face it fearlessly, with enthusiasm and passion. Embrace the change, and work hard to turn it to your advantage. It will be your ability to respond to those opportunities and challenges that will make a difference in your life and for those around you. You will find it exhilarating, what gives us life and what makes us human. As scientists, you've been trained to love the unknown, to walk that edge between what we know and what we don't know, and to continue that edge farther and farther out. It is an incredible thrill, and one that is applicable to all parts of your life. For like the unknown, we must take change and never fear it, but get behind it and ride it to where we have never been before. The last topic I'd like to remind you of is failure. Failure is something we all do. You all know about science and the brutality of it when it comes to failure. But failure is not something to hide or shy away from. It is something to embrace and turn into the positive. Indeed, many a scientist will tell you that research is all about failure, or that if you are not failing, you're probably not trying hard enough, and that you could be trying as hard as you could be. It is from our failure that we learn and grow. So follow your dreams, even if it does mean change, potential failure, and lots of unknowns. Being petrified of failure means you're going to probably be a very extreme underachiever, which none of you are. Abraham Lincoln said, "In the end, it's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years." So congratulations to all of you, to the graduates, to the families, to the friends, to the loved ones, and to the faculty. And good luck to you, and embrace and enjoy your future.
One last important event. You can, graduates, shift your tassel to the left-hand side of your hats. Thank you. This concludes our ceremony. Please remain seated until the end of the recessional.